Hi, I'm Anu Saniwal.
Hi, I'm Michael O'Hine, and we'll be the host for today's podcast.
Welcome back. For those who don't know, the Scripps Ranch Professional Career Exploration Club is an organization dedicated to interviewing professionals from many different career paths. We aim to help students find a career that's right for them.
And we have a very special guest today. Give a warm welcome to Alex Shahabe. Mr. Shahabe started his first business at the age of 15, and ever since then, he's built two companies. He's the president right now of PC Housing, OWL Rentals, based here in San Diego. So, Mr. Shahabe, welcome.
Thank you for having me. I'm glad to be here.
So when you're in a company, especially once you get to larger size companies, it's really important to delegate work because it's impossible to do everything on your own. So how do you find the right people to delegate work to?
Great question. I think the people aspect of the business when you run an organization is probably the most important one. And as the organization grows, you also need to learn how to delegate and find the right people to carry out your vision and your culture, which is the most important parts. The way I approach it is I have a team approach to finding the right people. What we do is obviously going through resumes and interviewing. Once they pass the first interview, we put them in front of their coworkers and other colleagues they're going to be working with, and I solicit feedback from them as far as how well they fit into our culture and also their personality and how they come across. So it's very much a group effort. It's not just made by me. When you're talking about delegating to people, for me, is I'm hiring other managers and other executives that are going to be executing my vision and also my culture. So a lot of it is based on the soft side of people, their personalities, their management style, and it's really understanding that what drives them, why do they want to become a manager, what the outlook of life is, how do they go about conflict resolution. All that ties into our culture, and that's how we go about it. It's just the softer side is probably the most important side. I can teach skill sets to people, but I can never teach them their mindsets. That's a lot harder to teach. And you just want to, I make sure I find people that are like-minded when it comes to outlook of life, if that makes sense.
So, in a business, there are many different stages of responsibilities, such as managers, directors, and then CFOs, CEOs. So, what are the most important traits for a leader to have?
Yeah, so look, I think there are different skill sets that come in. For example, as a CEO, my focus is on vision and culture. I am really bad at details. So my job for a long time has been to hire a number two or a COO who is very detailed oriented. And they are into the nitty gritty and making sure that things are being done the proper way. And that's the part that I'm not good at. I'm really good at setting a vision, understanding the strategy, but I hire people for my weaknesses, and I have to make sure that they are able to, and that's their skill sets, and that's their strength, and that's what they're passionate about. I'm not passionate about details. When you ask me to sit in front of an Excel sheet and do 3 hours of Excel, I'm going to quit. I hate that type of work. It's not what my strength is. And that's not what you want me to do. So it's really finding the right people for the right job. What are the important traits in a CFO? Obviously, they have to be really detailed oriented, right? When I talk about my HR person, she has to be really good with people and the skill sets, communication, and knowing the law. So every department has their own nuances that you really have to understand and hire for. So really getting down to the nitty gritty and understanding what the drivers are for each position is going to help you to really identify the right person and identify the skill sets you need to be able to execute.
So regardless of position or what exactly you're hiring for, just in general, broad across the board, what are things you look for in an employee?
For me personally, is mindset. How if they have the fire and that they work hard and they like to grow and learn. One of the things I talk about constantly in my work business is we can teach people skill sets, but I can never teach them a mindset. And that fire that you have within you, the way you were brought up and your outlook of life sets you apart from anybody else. So when I look at hiring people, I look at how they look at life. What's the last book they read? And how did they apply it to their life? How did you grow last? Just because you graduate high school or college, it doesn't mean that learning stops. You just started to learn. And what are your aspirations? What do you want to do next? And those are the things that are more important than what you do today and what you did yesterday.
So talking about mindset, many people, especially during quarantine, really want to start their own business and really want to start making their own money. But many people quit because they don't want to do the work. So what is the most difficult thing about starting a business from the ground up?
Wow. I think grit, being able to take risk and put everything on the line, and being able to hustle. When you start your own business, one of the most important skill sets you need to have is, especially if you want to be an entrepreneur. First of all, I don't think you become an entrepreneur. You're born as an entrepreneur, and you have that mentality that you're not going to fail and you're going to push through a lot of hard time because as an entrepreneur, I failed many times and I had to pick myself up and I had to motivate myself. So when I look at skill set, it's really the hustle and internal drive, the fire to succeed and prove people wrong. That for me that was my driving force to become
Awesome.
successful.
So we kind of just discussed what makes a successful entrepreneur. But what differentiates a successful business from an unsuccessful one? So once you've already made it and you're seeing your plan put in motion.
Wow. I'm sure you guys know the statistics. 9 out of 10 startups fail within the first 18 months. I think strategy, understanding the market, you as an entrepreneur have to be able to learn, grow. As your business evolves, you have to evolve with the business. If you don't, your business is going to fail. So there's a lot of nuances that goes into a successful endeavor that makes it what it is. And we can get into the details, but when you think about your strategy to go to market, your marketing, the people you hire around you, every decision you make is gonna have an effect and increase or decrease your success rate. So when you look at the statistics, there's a reason why so many endeavors fail. Is because a lot of things has to go right for you to be successful. And yeah, timing, people, hard work. When I started my business, I was working 15 to 18 hours a day. So nothing replaces hard work and for you to push through.
So that actually leads into our next question, which is, what steps did you take to start PC Housing?
So when I started PC Housing, I was married. I was 23 years old, 24 years old. Just graduated college. I convinced my wife to move into my in-laws' house so I didn't have to pay rent and cut my cost to almost zero beside food. Took the the money we had. We were also lucky because Mr. Amex and Mrs. Visa were very kind to us, and they believed in us. So they actually invested money with us. I'm talking about American Express and Visa cards, credit cards. So we put a lot of the money onto the credit cards, and I bought what I needed for my business, and that's how I started. I started from thin air, borrowed money on credit cards, and we made it happen. It was a lot of hours.
Yeah, when you do decide to try that entrepreneurial route, it's still there's a lot of risk involved with that, and
Correct.
there's a lot of decisions you have to make that you're not sure if it's the right way because there's no preset path. So what are the more difficult decisions you had to make?
I think the most difficult decisions back then and today are about people. Hiring the right person, letting go of the right person at the right time. I have made many mistakes by keeping bad employees, not bad, just misfit employees in the organization for too long. And that kills your culture, and that breaks your good employees that lose their morale because you're keeping a bad apple in the house. So I think the people decisions is probably the hardest ones. Getting the timing right and getting the right people on board. You will never get it right all the time, but it's just that's probably the hardest.
So what are some of the changes that you noticed when your company started to grow and your operation built in size? What were the differences from when it was a much smaller organization to when it's the size it is now?
Yeah, so when you start a business, you have 5, 10, 20 employees. You're in direct contact with them, and you're able to convey your vision and keep the culture pretty much in check, and to make sure that your culture, the way you perceive your culture to be, and the way you want to set the culture, which should be an intentional culture, you can control that a lot better. But once you start having middle management and delegating your work, which you have to do to get to 100, 200, 500 employees, to carry out the vision and to making sure that the culture is communicated, you need to put different systems in place, feedback systems, training. So as the organization grows, as an entrepreneur, you have to be able to grow with it, to be able to keep up with the demand, because the skill set changes as you grow your business. I don't do what I did when I started my business. My job description has evolved tremendously. So I had to evolve with it and learn and grow to be able to keep up with it. Otherwise, I would have been fired, right? So, yeah.
So many high schoolers are trying to find jobs in quarantine. They're trying to find jobs during COVID, and it's really hard for them because of course, they have to be 6 feet apart and social distancing. So, how can high school students become entrepreneurs in their own lives?
I recommend it. I tell you, don't become an entrepreneur. It's a very hard life. If you like to fail and fail again and fail again and risk, then you're going to do it. But it's a pretty painful life to be an entrepreneur. You have a lot of highs and lows. But if that's something you absolutely wanted to do, learn to sell. You need to sell yourself. You need to sell your ideas. You need to sell to investors. You need to sell to employees to join you. You need to sell to your clients. I think selling no matter what you do in life, selling is a pretty important skill set. Is that what your question was? What skill sets you need to have? What you need to do to start?
It was more like, how can high school students become entrepreneurs? Like, what steps can they take in the beginning?
Yeah, so obviously, if you have an idea, whatever it is you want to do, you need to sell that idea. So my answer is still the same. You need to understand what the sales process is. You need to be able to sell your product, your idea, whatever that might be. So learning how to sell is pretty important. There's many books written about the sales process that I recommend to all of you. When you get home tonight, you are home. When you're home, just at dinner table, go and grab something from the kitchen and sell it to your sibling or to your parents. And the more you work on that skill set, the better chances you're going to have to become an entrepreneur or any in your career, because that's something that's going to stick with you. I'm not talking about you learning how to sell cars and become a car salesperson. I'm talking about selling a concept or idea and getting people excited to follow you. And the better you get at that, the more chances you have to become successful. And if you have an idea, just put a plan together, run it by some people, get some feedback, understand how you want to sell it, who you want to sell it to, who your target market is, and start small. Just ask a couple of people, what do you think about this product? What do you think this is different than any other product? So those feedback is going to help you to fine tune what you're doing, because no matter what plan you put together at the beginning of if you have a business you want to do, no matter what plan you have, I promise you, it's not going to be what you end up with. So getting feedback from the actual customers, consumers, is very, very important. And how you use that feedback, how you put that into practice and change your offering is going to set you apart as an entrepreneur.
Well, speaking of selling ideas, it's your turn to try to sell us entrepreneurship. So if you can give us a quick elevator pitch on why you think kids, especially in high school, college, why should they become entrepreneurs?
Look, I think as much as I say, don't do it, and it's a very hard life, it's also extremely rewarding. I've seen employees that started with me as just a ground up, and they have bought homes now, they have families, and they have grown. I've seen them grow in the business and accomplish a lot. So those are very gratifying. Also, you can change the world. You truly, I mean, if you think about you guys have so much potential to really truly change the world, and the entrepreneurs do that. If you look at Elon Musk and Zuckerman and what they have done for us as humans, it's just is amazing. So absolutely, there's so many different services and products out there that all of them started with entrepreneurship, and you absolutely have an ability to change the way we live and what we eat and what we do and attractions we go to. Those all comes from entrepreneurs. So there's a lot of satisfaction by creating something that nobody uses before. So yeah.
Wow, that was such an insightful interview. Mr. Shahabe shared some incredibly perceptive advice about being an entrepreneur. We hope you learned as much as we did. A huge thank you to Mr. Shahabe for joining us today. We are SRPCEC, and we hope you enjoy. Bye-bye.
Thank you for coming.
Thanks, guys.